Welcome to the Pathways to Prosperity podcast, where we explore personal, professional, and financial success stories of top achievers. Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome to Pathways to Prosperity podcast. My name is Terrence Shabillion, and today we are here with Nicole Vinson, and I am completely drew a blank. I'm sorry, once again, what was the name of your law firm, Nicole?
No problem. I'm with the Stockham Law Group.
Okay, awesome. I do apologize. I was asked 3 times and still didn't get it. But anyways, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and your business and where you're at today?
Sure. So I'm an attorney who's focused on helping folks who have had damage from hurricane losses or property damage in the state of Florida. And I'm a partner with the Stockham Law Group. And I'm on year 17 now practicing in the state of Florida.
Awesome. Okay. I didn't realize you dealt in that type of, do you do litigation or just more like?
No, I do. We are very active. We have a dedicated practice area, and there's 5 attorneys, and we handle everything from if the claim, goes off the rails at the beginning of a loss, all the way through trial.
Okay. I have a lot of experience dealing with some different attorneys. I used to own a remediation company. They've recently changed some laws, which I don't know if this is going to be good or bad for for the insureds. That used to be very helpful for us to make sure that insurance companies paid what they were supposed to, and maybe you can expand upon that a little bit from that side. So obviously being an attorney and in this business, I'm sure there's a lot of competition. Maybe what sets you guys apart?
Yes, and there has been quite a few legal challenges that have come up in our field as we try to help Floridians and help homeowners. I practice in Florida. I'm also licensed in Georgia and North Carolina. And that's kind of one of the things when you're hitting a roadblock is to expand and to try to, expand where you can help people. If the law's changed here, we can still use those same good practices and try to go beyond Florida. So that's what we did. That's why I'm licensed in other jurisdictions. But it is very tricky. But perseverance, I think, is one of the things that can help in light of the law changes. And I think what really makes me feel strongly about my advocacy for individuals and homeowners and being on that side of the courtroom is that I'll work harder. I'll be more dedicated. I'll focus in on what the details are, because people are too quick to just judge, too quick to jump to conclusions and saying, no, that's not going to be something you can even argue. But if you dedicate the time and the focus to it, then you can usually find a way, or you at least know when to cut your losses. So that's where I think it's taken me to the next level as counsel to say, well, what I know from all those hours and long, sessions, dialing this in and finding the problems, it really helps. And now I'm a little faster. But for a long time, it took those ruling sessions to win these cases.
Wow. Okay. No, this is just a personal thing. As I've mentioned, I've had a lot of experience with this myself. Have the changes in the laws, and maybe even if you could explain those a little bit, have they started to affect you guys heavily yet, or are you still moving through cases that were probably in place before the law changes?
That's correct. We have a mixed bag now, but the first law change happened, and I think rightfully so. We needed some more parameters on certain bad actors. Mm-hmm. So the insurance companies wanted notice that a lawsuit was going to come to them. And I think that's fair. Give them notice of a dispute before you're just launched into the middle of a lawsuit. The problem is that the legislators didn't give that enough time to play out to see if that cleaned up the bad apples and allowed for people who really had problems to get their day in court. So before that could really take hold, then in December of 2022, not coincidentally right after Hurricane Ian, they erased any ability for a statutory right for an owner who has a claim with their own insurance company to get an attorney fee in addition to the damages. And that would be for the forthcoming policies and the new claims. So Hurricane Ian victims, we are still setting forth that they have the right to the attorney fee on top. But claims and policies that were renewed after that change, you're going to have to just fight for what your damages are. And when you have to hire a lawyer for that, as much as I would love to do everything pro bono, we can't. So we have to then take a portion of those monies that need to go back into roofs. They need to go back into the infrastructure. And so that is going to have an impact with Hurricanes Helene and Milton. So we're going to see how the waters shake out. I think the pendulum will swing back, and hopefully we can talk our lawmakers into some more protections for homeowners and business owners in the state of Florida, because we have just been hit by two very, very large storms here and throughout the Northeast.
Yeah. I had read something, and as I said, I'm no longer involved in the business, so I'm not as heavily involved from that side or pay that much attention. But something along the lines that 70% of the claims were declined, which was quite baffling. I do understand, from that side that some are flood damage and people don't understand the difference from that side. And it's a lot of education. Unfortunately, I think that the solution starts way before it gets to you guys, and educating, the consumer on why they need this and why they don't need this. And then instead of always looking for the cheapest policy, that when you really need it, that cheapest policy tends to haunt you. So, I definitely understand that side as well. Going to that one, if someone listening now wanted to, I might have already answered this question, but learn better ways to protect themselves so that they don't run into these challenges, what's a few pieces of advice that you may give them towards the future? Kind of hard to change it now, but I think education's a big key for people, and you don't know what you don't know.
Right. And I think there's kind of two camps. If you have a claim right now and you're thinking this is so overwhelming and so stressful, there's a lot of resources, and I don't think you should take the first response from the insurance company as the end-all be-all. And sometimes they'll even tell you that while they're at the property, like, we're going to make our best attempt at this, but you may have to supplement. That's an annoying word for me because I don't think they should have to supplement when this is their initial claim. But pushing back, being organized, being your own advocate, because every dollar in these claims does matter. If you're thinking about the future, the problem we see is that so many people don't understand what's in their insurance policy. Even the agents are struggling with some of the new changes that have come in because they've been able to slide in a lot of cuts into these policies. So making sure you kind of have, just like you would do your annual checkup, have your insurance checkup where you're asking your broker, hey, what about if I have a hurricane where there's flood and wind, or what if I have a fire? There's a new clause called a 1% matching. If you can eliminate that off of your insurance policy, you're going to be 10 steps ahead. They're sliding it in new. And what that means is that if there's a problem to your property and something has to be repaired, so for instance, within the house, and there's continuous areas that are not damaged, but it needs to go in because it doesn't match. A lot of Floridians have the exact same floor throughout the main level of the house. They like to apply this 1% matching clause that says that 1% of your coverage will go towards those other damages. And that's very, very little money. So if you can eliminate having, and it doesn't just apply to floors or interiors, it's very, very broadly written. So understanding those forms and endorsements. So often we get a renewal and it will have just a little cheat sheet. You want the whole policy so that you can understand how it's different from last year, reading the fine print. And if it's boring and it's annoying, that may be a sign that you want to sit down with someone and have help, get an expert involved. That time, again, it's something that you're putting in. It's not fun, but it may save you thousands, or you may reap the benefits of tens of thousands down the line.
Yeah. And as I had mentioned earlier, it's all about education. from that side of it. And like you said, taking that time to make sure you understand what you're getting. People think they have something, and they just because they think they should have it, that's what they believe. And many of times I've had to sit down with clients and tell them it doesn't matter what you do from here, it's not going to get paid because this is the way your policy's written.
Right. If you have a change in ownership, you decide to rent out a property because now you're moving up with things, or you're getting transferred, and you don't switch that over on your insurance, you may be in that same situation where you're going, doesn't matter, we can't help. Even the best lawyers can't fix that.
Yes, ma'am. So, Nicole, what's maybe one of the biggest challenges you had to overcome in your career?
So I think if I could go back and talk to myself maybe 20 years ago, I would explain that it does get easier. One of the big challenges is really becoming an attorney, and then recognizing that the first couple of years are not going to be a forecast of what the rest of your career is going to be like. You have to pay your dues. And then it will get better. And a lot of women in the industry scale back because it is hard, and it's hard to have a family and do this. But the kind of analysis, if you can figure out a way, and balances all of the cliche keywords, but if you can figure out a way to dive in, dial it in, work really hard early on, get to a place where you have that comfort and that familiarity in your area of practice, I think you will then be a better friend, wife, mother, because you've really invested in yourself and gone hard. I think too often people think you could, hit an easy button. And that easy button may be setting your alarm for 4 a.m. From 4 to 8 a.m. is how I studied for the North Carolina bar when I was already a Florida practicing lawyer. That was a really big challenge for me to do because I had a full-time job, but yet I could not practice in North Carolina without taking the bar exam again. They had no love for the Florida license.
Yep.
So you have to make some choices, and whether that's, hey, on Friday nights, instead of going out and doing all of those fun things, for 3 years, I'm going to invest in me. And you can still have a glass of wine while you're, working on your bigger goals. But a lot of people use that, I'm too busy, there's not enough time. I follow, and I don't even think you call her an influencer because this is way before there was influencing, but I follow an author who has broken down, that time really is by the month. And if you can look at the big picture, and really dive into where you can find out a way, there is a way. If you have a big goal, there's a way to find the time and do it, but you don't get an easy button. You have to do it. You have to do it with dedication, concentration, and maybe you have to pivot along the way where you're thinking that's going to be how you do it. And then from 4 to 8 switches from, 6 to 10 at night for a little while, but that doesn't mean you give up.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I always talk to, when I'm on these podcasts speaking to people, I always tell them the one thing I hate, the worst commercial in the world was the easy button. I think it was Staples, and it's everybody, that's what they really want is the easy, and you hit that on that, and that, it takes what other people aren't willing to do, and I love how you said that. I was already a practicing attorney and I still went and did more, from that avenue. That really goes to show what it takes to be successful. And whatever you're choosing to do is being willing to do more than, doing whatever it takes. And, that's always what I tell people. Don't look for more, do whatever it takes to get you there. And it will pay off. So, excuse me. Sounds like things are going well for you in your business right now. A lot of our guests are looking towards the future and how they can create passive income to enhance or even replace their current active income. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any things that you do outside of your field to be able to set yourself up for the future?
So really, I am very focused on my main gig. That is, the more people I can help, the better. And in this area of practice, you don't really have a ceiling. You can just hire more folks to work with you and help you to, take that job, passion, career, and really, multiply it. But I do think that there are ways for people to take when you're really dialed in, when you're a super nerd in your area, and using that to give out information, whether it's a web book or giving talks. I've done quite a few CLEs. At this point, it's all on a getting, more recognition and more of my name out there. But I think eventually having some kind of teaching component to it can be another way to help others educate. They can kind of follow along with some of those roads that we went down that were not so easy, learn from that, and then take the golden nuggets and move that. But as you think about, okay, you're successful in your career, then where you put your money and what you're doing with that income, I think will make a difference as you look into, the next phase of your life, whether you're buying real estate or investing in another company. There's not enough air conditioning, plumbing, construction companies out there. That's probably what I should be doing, is figuring out how to be a partner in one of those companies. But with the knowledge I have now, that may be a next step.
Yeah. As you said, I just add one caveat to it. There's not enough good ones. There's unfortunately, yeah, there's a lot of them that, yeah.
And I think it's going to be something that in 10 years, we're really worried about the trades.
Is it? Yeah, we own assisted living homes, and it's the same thing that we're looking at in the healthcare field. Is, what happens when, a very old, a lot older demographic of people working in those, and not so many coming in to replace them. So on both sides of that. So I definitely appreciate and see what's happening there from that side. So yes, no, I definitely appreciate that. As we're wrapping up our interview, what exciting plans or initiatives, and you might have already addressed a little bit of that, do you have in the works for the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, that's a good question. So there is a lot of any opportunity where you can get out and speak to your colleagues or others who are in the arena. We are very active with the Windstorm Insurance Network, and that is all sides of the insurance industry: carriers, lawyers, accountants, vendors, construction. They all come together for an annual conference, and this year it'll be held in Dallas. So that will be a good networking event where I'll be able to speak and present some of the work that I've been doing in the past year. And hopefully there'll just be ways for me to be able to get in front of the carriers, whether it be at trial or in other areas of dispute resolution, to try to help the Floridians who have been impacted by these hurricanes and everyday, catastrophic losses. We've really been hit hard. And I'm hopeful that by advocating and connecting with leaders that we can change the laws, tweak them, and continue to win in court.
Absolutely. Yeah, I as being a homeowner myself, I hope that we get the laws. Like you said, I think that pendulum went from this side to, the other side, to the other extreme. And, when I first came down to Florida many years ago, I was amazed at the laws and the rules and how easy it was to be able to make sure insurance companies paid. Just the threat of lawsuits made a huge difference in our business. And now it's went to the other side, where I feel like now it's easy enough for them to say no, and people just throw their hands up. And being a real estate investor myself right now, a lot of people are actually walking away from their homes. So I definitely appreciate what you're doing and what you're trying to do, and hopefully we find a balance of what we're doing going forward. So I appreciate your time today and for coming on and spending a little time with us, Nicole. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you, or reach out to you, how would they do that, Nicole?
Yes. Well, and thank you so much for having me join as a guest. This was really a great experience, and I'm glad I got to share some time with you today. I can be reached at the Stockham Law Group, and the best way is probably 813-867-4455. And they'll get you connected right with me.
Awesome. We appreciate it, Nicole, and appreciate your time again. And thank you for coming on to Pathways to Prosperity.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Pathways to Prosperity podcast. Got a success story to share? Visit pathwaystoprosperitypodcast.com/guest and apply today.